Hey everybody, I'm Alleycat. There are many weapons in Oblivion, but only one has the distinction of being the worst weapon in the game. On release, this was the Rusty Iron Dagger, found in the tutorial with a base damage of 3. But the Shivering Isles expansion added a new contender, the Fork of Horripilation. So, this begs the question, can you beat the main quest of Oblivion with a weapon that only has a base damage of 2? Let's find out together, shall we? Let me just say at the start here that I'll be skipping the tutorial in most runs from here on. I have a save where I'm at the door out of the sewers, and I haven't even done any damage to anything, and since you can edit your character at the door, it saves me another 10 to 15 minutes of going through the tutorial yet again. Anyway, this is Sour Carl. He ate the world's most sour candy one day and got stuck like that. He's got the basic warrior class and the warrior birth sign. And he's a red guard because they start with good strength and blade, and the fork is classified as a dagger. I may even get some use out of Adrenaline Rush in this playthrough. Before we do anything else, the first thing I have to do is collect the Fork of Horripilation. Now, normally after 24 hours of being out of the sewers, I would somehow receive word that there's a mysterious door in the Nibbin Bay. However, that door is there from the start, and I can just go straight there.
Enjoy your stay.
Whoa. Okay, so the fork is past this gate, but I need a key to get through, which this gatekeeper has. He's very tough, and I can't do any damage because I don't have the fork. Thankfully, there's this guy named Jared who will help me out if I help him get his bones. Hey, as long as he's not trying to send me pictures of his bone. I help Jared break into the bone zone, and he kills a bunch of skeletons and finds the bones he was looking for. He gives me some arrows I'll never use, and then we go kill the gatekeeper. Is it supposed to take this long? Wait, Jared isn't firing any arrows. What's going on? Well, I died and came back, and suddenly Jared is using his arrows. Weird. Anyway, it doesn't really take that long, and then I get to take the keys and go through the gate, and then run all the way to New Sheath on the other side of the map. Well, this is pleasant. This is Big Head. He likes forks.
The fork! The precious, precious fork! Hear how it sings to Big Head. Beautiful, perfect fork of horripilation.
He doesn't know where my prize is, but he does know someone who can point me in the right direction.
Ah, yes. The Fork of Horripilation.
So I talk to that guy, and he says it's all the way back by the gate. Great. Cool. Hey, real quick, before you say anything, yes, I know I could have let Big Head die before he gave me the quest, and that would let me enchant the fork, seeing as how it would no longer be a quest item. However, I didn't know about that until about halfway through the run, and I didn't want to have to do everything all over again, so yes, this run was harder than it needed to be, but whatever. It's more content for you. So I go all the way back to the little camp where the fork is supposed to be, but guess what? One of the cultists here has picked it up. I can't pickpocket it from him because my sneak skill is terrible, and I'm dressed head to toe in steel plate. So he has to die, which means I have to lead him somewhere someone else will kill him. I don't know where that would be, so I just lead him down the road until I encounter something, which ends up being these other cultists. Did I just start a gang war? Oh well, doesn't matter. I'm not going to be here for much longer anyway. Alright, I've got the Fork of Horripilation. It does worryingly little damage. In fact, I'm having trouble killing stunted scamps of all things. Thankfully, I can always rest for an hour to fully heal, but every encounter in this first Oblivion gate has to be one-on-one or else I'm dead. The full steel armor and shield are only barely enough to tank this damage. To make matters worse, the Fork of Horripilation has an enchantment called Fork's Wound, which prevents magicka regeneration while it's equipped, which I obviously didn't know about before I started this run, or I'd have picked the Atronak birth sign so I'd at least have a bonus along with it. When I eventually get to the Sigil Stone, however, the effect I roll on it gives me an idea. Anyway, did I mention I gave the amulet to Jeffrey and went to the Kvatch Gate? Y'all already know how this goes. Bring Martin back to Wayne and Priory. Jeffrey says they stole the amulet. Take Martin to Cloud Ruler Temple. Talk to Boris in the Imperial City.
Search his body. I'll keep an eye out in case any of his friends are nearby.
Oh, right, I can pick things up. Volume 2 from Tarmina, Volume 3 from Gwynnis. Volume 4 proves to be a bit harder, if only because Boris can't get in much damage before he dies, and I have to do the rest. Thankfully, I only have to kill the one who has the book. Now the problem is, the other cultists keep killing me before I can escape. This heavy armor is really slowing me down. You know what? If it's not keeping me from dying, what's the point of wearing it? Much better. Oh, it's all broken. That explains that, I guess. So before I go do Dagon Shrine, I think it's time to get started on this build I've got in mind. Unfortunately, as usual, it requires a lot of gold, and I also need to be level 10. Yeah, I'm leveling up in a run where you have to use a weapon with terrible damage scaling. I'm sure it'll be worth it. Anyway, if you've seen my last 2 videos, you already know how I'm making money. Ayleid statues. Also Glarthir. But I'm bad at sneak and my weapon doesn't do a lot of damage, so how am I gonna get his money this time? Hey, Mr. Guard, Glarthir just told me to kill a bunch of people. Could you do something about that? Thanks. So anyway, I buy a box of mage tallow candles and a filled grand soul gem in the Imperial City, and the chameleon spell from Eatery Anus in the Breville Mages Guild. This lets me... Huh. Why can't I... Oh, shit. I don't have enough magicka to cast the spell, so I can't enchant anything with the effect. Well, looks like I have to start farming Oblivion gates. This is not very eventful. The Dremora are now caitiffs, which I have no chance of killing, so I'm mostly just running through and taking all the damage with my heavy armor. Once I get to the top, it's just a matter of quick saving right before I grab the Sigil Stone, and save scumming until I get the one I want. At level 9, latent Sigil Stones start dropping from Oblivion Gates, which give 20% chameleon when used to enchant armor or jewelry. If you get to 100% chameleon, well, you'll see. Halfway through, I hit level 10 and I can do Meridia's quest for the Ring of Khajiit. The 35% chameleon effect, coupled with the other 10% I got from the first gate, will let me achieve 100% with only 3 Sigil Stones instead of 5, so it'll be fairly important for this build. She wants me to kill a bunch of necromancers in a cave outside Skingrad, and they're tanky as hell. I can abuse load zones to separate them and fight them one-on-one, but it still takes like 10 goddamn minutes just to kill one, and I have to fight basically perfectly to do it before he can kill me. So basically I have a choice here. Spend what will likely be over an hour or more doing this shit 4 more times, or run through an extra 2 Oblivion gates. Yeah, guess which one I chose. It takes a lot of save scumming, but I eventually get to 100% chameleon. This is where something magical happens. Yeah, nobody can detect me. Ever. Except for this psychic guard, but even when I resist arrest, he can't actually hit me. This means I can do infinite sneak attacks for 4 times damage. I can do this anywhere, at any time. I can do this in the middle of combat. And the best part is, they can't do anything about it. What started as a build for tanking a lot of damage has become a build where it's impossible for me to take damage. So I stroll through Dagon Shrine and kill a few people on the way out just because I can. Oh, and I almost forgot, this happens on the way in.
I ask you one last time. Give me your possessions. The Master requires it of all initiates. Then you have come here to die.
Alright, you know how the story goes at this point if you've seen my zero weight run. I finish off the cave necromancers for the Ring of Khajiit to turn in for the Blood of the Daedra, since I've already started it anyway. The other contender would have been, funnily enough, the skeleton key. I'm already level 10, and the quest is incredibly straightforward. As a side note, it's hilarious that I can have a torch out in full heavy armor and they still can't detect me. These guys are watching a floating flame come up next to them, making a horribly loud clanking sound, and then suddenly they start bleeding out from multiple puncture wounds to the kidneys, and they can't for the life of them figure out how to solve this problem, so they just continue about their business.
Damn rats! Always skirting around in the shadows.
Those rats are killer, I tell you. When Jeffrey tells me to hunt down the spies, I actually run into the first problem with this build. Civilian NPCs will flee if they can't detect what's damaging them. This is a problem because I'm wearing heavy armor and can't catch up to them. The solution I end up using is setting my amulet to a hotkey so I can quickly go from 100% chameleon and undetectable to 80% chameleon, which, with the amount of sneak skill I have, might as well be 0. Once they're aggroed and I put the amulet back on, they'll be perpetually searching for me until they die, which means they'll patiently sit still while I fork them to death. Martin wants the armor of Tiber Septim, so off to Sanctor I go. How do sneak attacks against skeletons work? I always figured sneak attacks were a game abstraction for attacking vital areas and whatnot, but skeletons are just bones animated by magic. Are there parts that are more magic than others? Do you have to study magic skeleton anatomy if you want to be an assassin in the Elder Scrolls universe? This is why constructs are immune to precision damage in Pathfinder. You can't hit something in the vitals if it has no vitals to hit. Armor of Tiber Septim in hand, I go back to Martin, and then go down to Bruma to close another gate. This one is pretty uneventful as usual, but when I come out, I figure it would be fun to do a prank on Bird and give him a little poke. And he runs off into the mountains. Wait, come back. I need to talk to you to end the quest. Okay, good. Now you can run away forever. Miskerkind is similarly uneventful. I was worried about fighting the Lich at the end, seeing as how I can't kill ghosts with the fork. It's still classified as a mundane weapon, despite technically having an enchantment on it. But apparently, in Oblivion, Liches can be damaged with mundane weapons, so it's not a problem. You know, it's interesting. Daggerfall had all kinds of enemies that were immune to normal weapons, including imps, which spawned in the tutorial dungeon. Morrowind had less, but importantly, their list included certain goblins, which makes no goddamn sense. Oblivion narrowed it down to ghosts, wraiths, and will-o'-the-wisps. Then by the time Skyrim came out, a designer probably asked, why do we even bother with this mechanic anymore if only like 3 enemy types even use it? And so they just cut it from the game. Alright, it's time to open the Great Gate. Martin takes a surprisingly long time to show up, and then the Daedra start attacking him mid-speech, which I've never seen before. It's during this fight that my sneak levels up to 25, and my sneak attack damage becomes times 6. Which really helps put the extra damage in and barely keep Martin alive. After that, I just stroll through the Great Gate with no opposition. Unfortunately, when I come out, everyone but Martin is dead. Damn, that must have been some fight. Martin opens the portal to Paradise and I hop straight in. Now, here's something I completely forgot about. The Bands of the Chosen. they replace my gloves, which are one of the items I enchanted with chameleon. So for part of this section, I have to actually run away from a ton of Dremora I have no chance of fighting as they chase me down to attempt to rip me apart. It doesn't help that in my panic I forgot where to go and ended up running in circles and dying several times. But eventually I make it to the other side and Eldamil removes the bands, letting me re-equip the gauntlets and become comfortably invisible again. You know, the last time I fought Cameron, it was a hard-won fight to the death that took over an hour. Which is why it's funny to watch him sit here nearly motionless while I stab him in the ass with a fork until he falls over.
Where are Fate chose my vision will you Fate chose Damn Fate chose Oh Tamriel.
So yeah, after that I just escort Martin to the Temple of the One, the final cutscene plays, and I have successfully beaten Oblivion with a fork. But I think I have one last thing to do before I finish. Big Head, here is your fork. I hope it serves you as well as it did me.
You bring the fork. Happy day. The blind shall see. The lame shall walk. The short shall tall. Forks for all.
Oriole.
Oh. Never mind.
Alley Cat Blues.
If you like this video, please give it a like, subscribe to my channel, and give me a comment for the algorithm. Also, consider supporting me on Patreon. I'm going to be posting a few things to it soon that folks might find interesting. Anyway, the next challenge run on this channel might not be run by me. Ooh, a surprise. What could that mean? Subscribe so you can find out. When Jeffrey tells me to hunt down the spies,